Hello, Year 5. Today in our topic lesson, we're going to be learning about the Vikings. So our learning intentions today are to discover information about the Vikings, but also to recognise the chronology of events in the Vikings period of British history. The word Viking means pirate or raider. The Vikings came to Britain from the three Scandinavian countries that we now call Denmark, Sweden, and Norway. Our first task today is to identify where the Viking homelands and settlements were on a map of the UK. Use the instructions on the right-hand side of the screen and use the map, the coloured map, to fill in your blank map that you have in your packs today. Pause the video, and when you've finished your maps, come back to the video to continue to watch. So why did the Vikings invade Britain? The reasons were that there were too many people in Scandinavia and land was scarce. That means there wasn't enough land to go around. Britain had good land for farming. Only the eldest son could inherit the family farm, so the younger sons had to go and find their land elsewhere. They also wanted to explore and discover new places. The Vikings also felt that the Saxon kings and monasteries in Britain had many treasures. The Saxons might also have lots of goods and resources that they needed to be able to trade. The Vikings were also really strong warriors, and they wanted to prove their strength by fighting others. As I've already said, the Vikings came from the area of the modern Scandinavian countries, Denmark, Norway, and Sweden. They set out in boats called longships to go Viking, which means to go travelling around looking for resources and land to claim as their own. The Vikings first arrived in Britain around 787 AD. The Vikings came to Britain looking for lucrative new items to steal and trade. They also wanted land that they could take and claim as their own. They particularly liked to raid monasteries, like the one at Lindisfarne, which is in Northumbria. The monasteries were not very well protected and contained valuable goods like gold and jewels, imported foods, and other useful materials. The Vikings also liked to steal manuscripts and Bibles, and then these were sold back to the religious leaders who could not bear to see them lost or damaged. The Vikings went on to then invade Scotland, and in time they began to settle and stay there too. They were able to build up an army, and in 866 AD, they captured the city of York. The Anglo-Saxon king, Alfred the Great, who did become King of Wessex in 871 AD, managed to force the Vikings out of the south of England, but this was short-lived, didn't last for very long. By 878 AD, the Vikings had settled permanently in England, overran Wessex, and forced King Alfred into hiding. The Vikings were here to stay. So let's have a little look at the timeline of events. So in 787 AD, the first Viking raid in England occurred. In 793 AD, the Vikings attacked from Norway. They attacked the monastery of Lindisfarne in Northumbria. The following year, they attacked northern Britain in what we now call Scotland. In 866 AD, the Vikings capture the city of York. In 870 AD, Wessex is the last Anglo-Saxon kingdom left. In 871 AD, Alfred the Great becomes King of Wessex. He drives the invading Vikings from the south, but they stay in the north and the east. In 878 AD, by this time, the Vikings had settled permanently in England. They'd overrun Wessex and forced King Alfred into hiding. In 886 AD, King Alfred agrees to a treaty with the Vikings. Alfred keeps the west and the Vikings are given the east, which is later known as Danelaw. In 900 AD, the Vikings established rule over northern Scotland. And in 954 AD, the last Viking king of Jorvik, York, Eric Bloodaxe, is forced out of York. And then in 1013 AD, King Sven of Denmark and his son Nut sail up the rivers Humber and Trent to claim the throne in Danelaw, and Ethelred, the Saxon king, flees abroad. In 1014 AD, King Sven dies and Ethelred returns to rule England again. In 1016 AD, King Ethelred dies. His son Edmund Ironside becomes king for a few months until he also dies. Nut becomes king of the Danes and king of England. In 1035 AD, King Nut dies. His sons Harold Harefoot and Hardicanute share the ruling of England. Harold dies in 1040 and Hardicanute becomes the sole ruler of England. In 1042 AD, Ethelred's second son, Edward, is invited to return from Normandy to become the King of England. Edward was better known as Edward the Confessor due to his extreme piety. 1066 AD, the last Anglo-Saxon king, King Harold, is defeated by William the Conqueror at the Battle of Hastings, and Norman Britain begins. Oh, that was a lot of dates and a lot of things, and I don't expect you to remember all of what I've just said. But what I would like you to do now is our final task for our topic lesson today. And that is an activity you have done many times before, and that is to use the timeline and to add the dates onto the timeline. Now, you might find if you compare your timeline to that of with your Anglo-Saxon one, that actually all the dates overlap quite a lot. So if you do have space on your other Anglo-Saxon timeline, you can add these Viking dates to that one. But I know you probably don't have space. So feel free to make your new Viking timeline, and don't forget to use a ruler if you cut out and stick the events on, or you can write on the events, but please use a ruler. We'd love to see your timelines and your maps uploaded to Padlet so we can see the great work that you have been doing at home. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.